The cargo ship shook hard as it docked at Prime, grabbed the wall to steady himself. His muscles hurt from sleeping on metal floors for 3 weeks. His clothes smelled bad. His stomach was empty, but none of that mattered now. He had finally arrived. He looked down at the small metal crate near his feet. Something moved inside it. A scratching sound came from within, followed by a soft grunt. "Almost there," he said quietly. "Just stay calm for a little longer." The crate shook once, then went still. Picked it up carefully and walked toward the ship's exit. Other passengers pushed past him without care. Most of them were aliens, tall ones with 4 arms, short ones with gray skin, some that looked like walking snakes. None of them looked at him. To them he was nothing, just another human. The docking bay of Prime was massive. Had never seen anything so big in his life. Ships of all sizes filled the space. Thousands of aliens walked in every direction. Lights flashed everywhere. Sounds of different languages mixed together into noise that hurt his ears. He followed the signs toward customs. His translator chip, old and cheap, struggled to keep up with all the different languages around him. Words appeared in his vision, sometimes clear, sometimes broken. The customs line was long, waited for 2 hours. When he finally reached the front, a security officer looked down at him. The officer was one of those tall aliens with 4 arms and scales covering their body. His eyes were yellow and cold. "Species?" the officer asked. "Human." The officer made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Purpose of visit?" "Looking for work." "Skills?" "I fix things, machines, electronics, anything." The officer typed something into his device. Then his eyes moved to the crate in his hands. "What is that?" His heart beat faster. "My companion, a small animal from Earth." "Open it." "She gets nervous around strangers. Maybe I could just show you the documents." "Open it now." Kneeled down and slowly opened the crate. Inside, a small creature looked up at them. She had silver-gray fur, small round ears, and black eyes that showed no fear at all. Her nose twitched as she smelled the alien air. The officer stared at her for a moment. Then he laughed, a real laugh this time. "This is your companion, this tiny thing." He waved his 4 arms in amusement. "Earth creatures are so weak." Other security officers came to look. They all laughed. One of them poked at with a scanner. She snapped at it, her teeth clicking together, but they only laughed harder. "What is it called?" one asked. "Honey Badger," said. They did not bother to check their databases. Why would they? The creature weighed maybe 12 kilograms. Their databases said Earth mammals were primitive and harmless, not worth their time. "Go through," the first officer said, still smiling. "Welcome to Prime, human. Try not to get stepped on." More laughter followed as he walked away. He closed the crate gently and whispered to, I know, but we need to be smart here." The lower districts of Prime were not pretty. The lights were dim. The walls were dirty. Water dripped from pipes above. This was where the poor lived, the species that no one cared about, the workers who kept the station running but received no respect. This was where the humans lived. Walked for a long time before he found the repair shop. A small sign above the door said "Fixes" in both Korean and the common galactic language. He pushed the door open and stepped inside. The shop was crowded with broken machines, spare parts, and tools. Behind the counter stood an old woman with gray hair and deep wrinkles on her face. She looked up when he entered and her eyes went wide. "A human boy," she said in Korean. Her voice was rough but warm. "I have not seen a young human in many years. Come in, come in." "Thank you," grandmother said, using the respectful term. "I am looking for work. I heard you might need help." "Always need help. Too much work, too few hands." She came around the counter and looked him up and down. "You look hungry and tired. When did you last eat?" "2 days ago." She clicked her tongue in disapproval and went to a small kitchen area in the back. As she prepared food, she asked, "What is your name, boy?" "I am been on this station for 20 years since the collapse." She paused, and sadness crossed her face. "You are too young to remember Earth as it was." "I remember enough." She returned with a bowl of rice and vegetables. Simple food, but to it smelled like heaven. As he ate, scratched at her crate again. His eyes moved to the crate. "What do you have there?" Hesitated, then opened the crate, climbed out and stretched her body. She sniffed the air, then began exploring the shop, checking every corner for threats. His face went pale. She took a step back. Is that what I think it is?" "Her name is, she is a honey badger." "I know what she is." His voice had changed. It was serious now, almost afraid. "Boy, are you crazy? You brought a honey badger onto a space station." "Stopped eating. She is harmless. She has been with me since I was 12. "Harmless?" Let out a strange laugh. "I grew up in Korea, but I know what honey badgers are. My grandfather told me stories. They fight lions. They eat poisonous snakes. They fear nothing in this universe." "She is calm now. She only attacks when she thinks I am in danger." "And what happens when she thinks you are in danger?" Did not answer. He did not need to. They both knew. Watched explore the shop. The honey badger moved with a strange confidence, like she owned the place. After a minute, she returned to and climbed onto his lap. She curled into a ball and closed her eyes. "She trusts you," said softly. "She is all I have left. My family died in the collapse. I found her when she was a baby, alone and hurt. We have been together ever since." Was quiet for a long time. Finally she sighed. "You can stay here. There is a small room in the back. It is not much, but it is dry and warm." She pointed a finger at him. "But you keep that creature controlled. The aliens here already hate us, if she causes trouble." "She will not, I promise." That night lay on a thin mattress in the back room. Was curled against his chest, her breathing slow and steady. Through the thin walls he could hear the sounds of the station, machines humming, aliens talking, life happening all around them. "We will be okay," he whispered too. "We just need to stay invisible. No trouble, no attention, just work hard and survive." Opened one eye, looked at him, then went back to sleep. The next morning, trouble came to them. A patrol officer entered shop. He was big, even for and his 4 arms were crossed over his chest. His yellow eyes scanned the room with disgust. "Protection fee," he said. 500 credits, pay now." His hands shook, but she said nothing. She went to her counter and pulled out a small bag of credits. She handed it to the officer with her head bowed. The officer counted the credits, then smiled. "Good human, see, you can be trained." He turned and walked out, laughing to himself. Watched from the back room, his fists tight. Was awake now, her black eyes fixed on the door where the officer had left. A low sound came from her throat, not quite a growl, but close. "No," said firmly, "not yet, not now." Looked at him. Something passed between them, an understanding that only years of companionship could create. Soon, her eyes seemed to say, soon. 2 months passed on Prime. Worked hard every day at shop fixing machines that aliens thought were broken forever. Word spread quickly through the lower districts. The young human could repair anything. His hands were magic. Soon, merchants from other levels started coming to the shop. They brought broken navigation systems, damaged communication devices, even old weapons that no one else could fix. Fixed them all. He worked 16 hours a day, sometimes more. The credits slowly grew. But credits could not buy respect. Every day, walked through the station and felt the hate around him. Aliens bumped into him without saying sorry. Merchants charged him double for food. Security officers stopped him for no reason, just to make him late, just to show him his place. Humans were the lowest species on Prime. Everyone knew it. Everyone accepted it. Everyone except. On the morning everything changed. He was walking through the market district within a bag on his shoulder. The honey badger liked to come with him now. She stayed quiet and still, watching everything with her sharp black eyes. The market was busy. Hundreds of aliens moved between stalls, buying and selling goods from across the galaxy. The smells of strange foods filled the air. Voices in dozens of languages created a wall of noise. Was looking for spare parts when he heard the scream. It was a human scream, young and female and full of fear. He pushed through the crowd until he found the source. A girl stood against a wall, her face pale with terror. She looked about 17 years old. Her clothes were simple and worn, like all human clothes on this station. Standing over her was but not just any. This one wore expensive robes decorated with gold thread. His scales were polished until they shined. Rings covered his 4 hands, a noble, the worst kind. "Please," the girl said, her voice shaking. "I do not want any trouble." "Trouble," the noble laughed. His name was, though did not know it yet. "I am giving you honor, little human. I am choosing you. You should be grateful." He reached out and grabbed her wrist. His grip was tight enough to leave bruises. The crowd watched and did nothing. Aliens looked away. Some smiled. A human girl being hurt was entertainment to them. Something hot burned in his chest. He had felt this feeling before many times. Usually he pushed it down. Usually he walked away. Stay invisible, he always told himself. No trouble. But the girl's eyes met his across the crowd. They were filled with tears and desperate hope. Moved before he could think. "Let her go." His voice was not loud, but in the sudden silence of the market, everyone heard it. Turned slowly. His yellow eyes found and his face twisted with disgust and amusement. "What did you say, vermin?" "I said let her go. You are hurting her." Whispers spread through the crowd. A human challenging a noble. This had never happened before, not on Prime, not anywhere. "Release the girl." She ran immediately, disappearing into the crowd, but did not notice. All his attention was on now. "You dare speak to me?" Walked forward, his 4 arms spreading wide. He was 3 heads taller than, his body was pure muscle covered in armor like scales. "You are nothing, less than nothing. You are food that learned to walk." Stood his ground. His heart beat fast, but his voice stayed calm. "I am a person, so is she. We deserve basic respect." Laughed, the sound was ugly. "Respect? I will teach you about respect, little human." He raised one of his massive arms to strike. That was when came out of the bag. Later, aliens who watched would struggle to describe what they saw. Some said the creature moved like lightning. Others said it moved like death itself. All agreed on one thing. They had never seen anything so fast or so violent in their lives. Hit in the face with a scream that froze everyone nearby. Her claws found his eyes. Her teeth found his scales. She was a storm of gray fur and pure rage, attacking with no care for her own safety. Roared in pain and shock. His 4 arms grabbed at the creature, trying to pull her off. But skin was loose, a gift from millions of years of evolution. When he grabbed her body, she simply twisted inside her own skin and bit his hand. Hard. Blood sprayed through the air. He grabbed her again. She twisted again. This time she bit through his thumb. The noble's screams echoed through the market. His 2 guards finally moved. One of them seized with both hands, lifting her away from his ruined face. For a moment, it seemed like the attack was over. Then turned her head, turned it almost completely around, like no creature should be able to do, and bit through the guard's palm. He dropped her with a scream. She hit the ground and immediately charged again. "Stop her," shouted, blood pouring down his face. "Kill it, kill the beast." But no one moved. The guards stared at their wounded hands. The crowd stood frozen. Even armed security officers who had arrived did nothing. Because now they could see clearly. 12 kilograms of muscle and teeth and absolute fearlessness. Her fur was covered in blood. Her eyes showed no pain, no fear, no hesitation. She stood between and growling low in her throat, daring anyone to come closer. Stepped forward slowly. He kneeled down and picked up. She was bleeding from cuts all over her body, but she did not seem to notice. Her eyes never left. "We are leaving now," said quietly. No one stopped them. They walked through the market in complete silence. The crowd parted before them like water before a ship. Aliens pressed against walls to stay away. Some looked at with horror. Others looked at with something new, something that might have been fear or respect or both. That night cleaned wounds in the back room of shop. The honey badger sat still and patient, letting him work. Her eyes were calm now, all the rage gone. Grandmother stood in the doorway, watching. "Is it bad?" she asked. "She will be fine. Honey badgers heal fast. Their skin is thick and tough." Wrapped a small bandage around his leg. "The noble." "I heard reports. He lost function in 2 of his 4 hands. One guard needs surgery. Another will never hold a weapon again." Shook her head slowly. "All from that small creature. She was protecting me." "I know." Was quiet for a long moment. "The girl you saved, her name is. She came by earlier asking about you. She wanted to say thank you." Nodded but said nothing. "You know what happens now, right?" His voice was serious. "You embarrassed a noble, drew blood from a. There will be consequences. Let them come." Studied his face. She saw no fear there, only tired acceptance. This boy had already lost everything once when Earth fell. What more could they take from him? "You are either very brave or very stupid," she said. "Maybe both." Finished her water and climbed onto his lap. She curled into a ball just like every other night, as if nothing had changed, as if she had not just destroyed a noble's hands. But everything had changed. By morning, the news had spread across every level of Prime. Security officers had pulled the footage and watched it 100 times. Commander of Station Security had accessed Earth's biological databases and read the full entry on honey badgers. That night he did not sleep. The entry described a creature that attacked lions when threatened, a creature that raided beehives and endured hundreds of stings without stopping, a creature that fought leopards over kills and won, a creature that, when cornered, showed no fear, no retreat, no surrender. A creature that weighed only 12 kilograms. In the morning, Commander sent a message to the High Council. His words were simple. "We have a problem." The High Council chamber was the most impressive room on Prime. It sat at the very top of the station, with windows that showed the stars in every direction. 12 species had seats here, the most powerful races in this sector of the galaxy. Today, every seat was full. Representatives had come from across the station, some from ships that had arrived just hours ago. Everyone wanted to see the footage. Everyone wanted answers. Counselor controlled the meeting. She was from a species that looked like tall snakes. No arms, no legs, just a long body covered in silver scales. Her voice was cold and sharp, like a blade made of ice. "We are here to discuss the incident in Market Sector 7, she said. 3 days ago, a human male and his companion animal attacked Lord of the Noble House." "Attacked?" Ambassador rose from his seat. He was the human representative on the station, a tired man with gray hair and worried eyes. "With respect, Counselor, the footage clearly shows Lord initiated physical contact first. He was assaulting a young human female." "Silence," the representative growled. His name was Commander, and his hatred for humans was famous. "The human female is not important. What matters is that a noble of my species was maimed by a human pet." "The creature is not a pet," said carefully. "It is a companion animal. There is a difference." "Then explain this difference to my lord's missing fingers." The chamber erupted in shouting. Representatives from different species yelled at each other, some supporting some demanding more information. The noise grew until Counselor raised her voice. "Enough, we will review the footage now." The lights dimmed. A massive holographic screen appeared above the chamber. The footage began to play. The council watched in silence as the scene unfolded. They saw grab the girl. They saw step forward. They heard his words, "Let her go." And then they saw attack. Someone in the chamber made a choking sound. Another representative physically moved back in their seat. Even Counselor, famous for showing no emotion, narrowed her eyes. The footage played in slow motion. Every detail was clear. The way twisted in its grip. The way she ignored her own wounds. The way she kept attacking again and again until the threat was gone. 12 kilograms of pure violence. When the footage ended, the chamber was silent for a long time. "What is that creature?" Commander finally asked. His voice was different now, less angry, more careful. Ambassador stood again. He looked uncomfortable, like a man about to deliver very bad news. "The creature is called a honey badger. Scientific name, native to Africa and parts of Asia on Earth." He paused. "It is classified as a small mammal, non-sapient, not a regulated species." Non-sapient, Counselor's tongue flicked the air. Then why did it attack with such purpose, such ferocity? Took a deep breath. This was the moment he had been dreading. Honey badgers are territorial and extremely aggressive when they perceive a threat to themselves or their bonded companions. They are fearless to the point of being pathological. Their skin is loose and thick, which allows them to turn and bite even when held from behind. They have been documented attacking lions, raiding beehives, and fighting poisonous snakes. "Lions?" someone asked. "What is a lion?" Pulled up an image. A massive earth predator appeared on the screen, golden fur, huge teeth, muscles that could crush bone. "This is a lion, an apex predator from Earth. It weighs approximately 190 kilograms. He paused. "Honey badgers have been documented attacking lions and driving them away from food." The chamber was very quiet. "You expect us to believe," Commander said slowly, "that a 12-kilogram creature attacks predators 15 times its size?" "I expect you to review your own footage," replied, "because that creature just defeated a noble and 2 trained guards in under 30 seconds." Another silence fell over the chamber. Representatives looked at each other with new expressions. The fear was spreading. "Bring the human," Counselor commanded. "Bring the boy and his creature." 1 hour later stood in the center of the High Council chamber. He wore his cleanest clothes, which were still worn and old. His face showed no fear, though his heart beat hard in his chest. Was not with him. Station security had insisted. "You are," Counselor said, "human, age 19, no family, no citizenship, a refugee." "Yes." "You came to this station 2 months ago with the creature known as a honey badger." "Her name is, and yes." "Tell us about the incident with Lord." Spoke calmly and clearly. He described what he saw in the market. He described the girl being assaulted. He described stepping forward to help her. "And your creature attacked without your command," Commander demanded. "Perceived a threat to me. She acted to protect me." "Can you control her?" Was quiet for a moment. He knew his answer would shape everything that came next. "No," he said finally. She has been with me since I was 12 years old when my family died in the collapse on Earth. She is loyal. She is protective. She has saved my life more times than I can count." He paused. "But she is a honey badger. She does not take orders. She does not retreat. She does not stop." "So you are saying," Counselor said, "that this creature is uncontrollable?" "I am saying that if you cage her, she will escape. If you corner her, she will attack. If you try to kill her." "Yes," leaned forward. "What happens if we try to kill her?" Met her cold eyes without looking away. "Then you should bring more guards than you brought for Lord." The chamber exploded into chaos. Commander demanded the creature be destroyed immediately. Other representatives called for its arrest. Some species who had never liked the sat quietly, watching with interest. Counselor raised her hand for silence. I have one more question, she said. How long have humans kept honey badgers as companions? Ambassador answered. Thousands of years in some Earth cultures. They were used to hunt snakes and protect homes. And humans chose to bond with these creatures, knowing their nature. Yes. His expression changed slightly. Something moved behind her cold eyes, not fear exactly, but careful reconsideration. Let me understand this correctly, she said slowly. Humans, soft-skinned, clawless, physically weak compared to most species, deliberately formed bonds with creatures that attack apex predators, creatures that feel no fear, creatures that never stop fighting. That is correct, Sid. What kind of species does this? The question hung in the air. Ambassador had no answer. The truth was too big, too complicated to explain. How could he tell them about Earth? About a planet where everything tried to kill humans, from the weather to the animals to each other. About how humans survived not by being the strongest, but by being the most stubborn, the most creative, the most willing to form bonds with dangerous things. How could he tell them that the honey badger was not unique? That humans had tamed wolves, rode horses into battle, kept poisonous snakes as guardians? How could he tell them that humans were far more dangerous than any honey badger? He could not yet. We are survivors, he said simply. We do what we must. The council debated for hours. Commander demanded blood. Other species demanded compromise. Through it all, stood in the center of the chamber, silent and still. Finally, Counselor called for a vote. The result would not be announced until the next day. Was escorted back to the lower districts, still not knowing if he would face execution or freedom. That night he held close and did not sleep. Whatever happens, he whispered, I am glad I have you. Looked up at him with her black eyes. She did not understand his words, but she understood his heart. She pressed closer and closed her eyes. They waited for dawn together. 3 days after the hearing, woke to the sound of his communication device beeping. He reached for it with tired eyes, expecting bad news. Execution orders, maybe, or a demand to surrender. What he found instead made him read the message 5 times to make sure he understood correctly. It was a council directive, broadcast to every terminal on Prime in 47 languages. The message was official, formal, and completely unexpected. Council Directive 7742A. Regarding human designate TAEHO and Terran organism, honey badger. By unanimous resolution, all station personnel and residents are hereby ordered to maintain minimum distance of 10 meters from the above-referenced human and his companion organism. No physical contact is to be initiated under any circumstances. Violations will be prosecuted as self-endangerment. Read it again and again. Self-endangerment. Anyone who touched him would be charged with a crime, not against, but against themselves, because touching him was now considered dangerous to their own safety. Grandmother burst into his room moments later, her old face bright with wild laughter. Have you seen it? Have you seen what they did? I do not understand, said slowly. They are not punishing me. Punishing you? Laughed so hard she had to lean against the wall. Boy, they are terrified of you, or rather they are terrified of her. She pointed at who was watching from her sleeping spot with confused black eyes. The news spread through the lower districts like fire. Humans came out of their homes to read the directive on public screens. At first, they were confused. Then they began to laugh. Then they began to cry. For the first time in 20 years, aliens were being ordered to stay away from humans. Not because humans were dirty or worthless, but because humans were dangerous. The directive became known simply as the rule. That morning walked through the station for the first time since the incident. He expected trouble. He expected hate. What he found was completely different. Aliens crossed to the other side of corridors when they saw him coming. Merchants who had cheated him for months now offered fair prices, or refused to serve him entirely, their hands shaking as they waved him away. Security officers who once stopped him for fun now looked the other way. A patrol walked toward him on a main corridor. In the old days would have stepped aside, lowered his head, made himself small. Today he kept walking straight. The patrol stopped. The officers looked at each other. Then slowly they stepped aside and let him pass. His heart pounded in his chest, but his face showed nothing. Rode in her bag on his shoulder. Could feel her watching everything, alert for any threat, but no threats came. No one dared. That night found him at shop. The young girl he had saved in the market looked different now. Her eyes were brighter. Her back was. She was not bent under the weight of fear anymore. "I never thanked you properly," she said, "for saving me." "Saved you? I just stood in front of you." "No," shook her head firmly. "Protected you. You protected me. No human has stood up for another human like that in, I do not even know how long." They talked for hours, told him about her life, born on the station, parents dead from a sickness that swept through the lower districts years ago. She worked in the market selling food, enduring abuse from aliens every day because she had no other choice. "Things are different now," she said. "Because of you, because of the rule." "It is just fear," said quietly. "They are not respecting us, they are afraid of." Maybe that is where respect starts. Over the following weeks, discovered that was right. The fear was changing into something else. Other humans on the station, there were about 200 scattered across the lower districts, began seeking him out. They came to shop, not for repairs but to talk, to ask questions, to see the honey badger that had humiliated a noble. An old human man named, who worked as a cleaner in the upper districts, said something that stayed with. "For 20 years I have bowed my head, 20 years of being kicked and spat on, 20 years of teaching my children that survival means being invisible." His voice cracked. "And then this boy and his small creature showed us that we do not have to bow." Among the aliens, reactions varied. They were angry but afraid. They demanded the council reverse the rule, but no one wanted to be the first to test it. What if they got too close and the honey badger attacked again? Other species were more thoughtful. The small creatures who had always been bullied by larger species looked at the situation with new eyes. If something as small as a honey badger could defeat a warrior, maybe size was not everything. Maybe there was hope for the weak. Counselor requested a private meeting with Ambassador. They met in a small room far from the council chamber, where no one could hear them. "I have been studying your species," said. Her voice was different than in the council, less cold, more curious. "I looked at Earth's ecological history, at the creatures humans call apex predators." "And what did you find?" "I found that humans, despite being soft and slow and weak, somehow outcompeted or domesticated every dangerous species on your planet." Her tongue flicked the air, a sign of deep thought. "The honey badger, the wolf, the elephant, the horse, even the great cats that could kill a human with one strike." "We are adaptable," said carefully. "You are something more than adaptable," leaned closer. "The boy, he told the council that he cannot control the honey badger, but I watched the footage again many times. The creature attacked only when the boy was threatened. It stopped when the boy picked it up. It follows him like a shadow." "What is your point, counselor?" "My point is that the creature respects him. A creature that fears nothing in this universe respects a human boy." She paused. "What does that tell you about humans?" Was quiet for a long moment. "It tells you," he said finally, "that you should not have spent 20 years treating us like animals." Meanwhile, struggled with his new position. He had not asked to become a symbol. He did not want to be a leader. He just wanted to survive, to work, to keep safe. But the humans on the station needed something to believe in, and whether he wanted it or not, had become that something. Helped him understand this. "You do not have to be a leader," she said one evening. You just have to be yourself. That is enough. What if I fail? What if something happens and they lose hope again? Then we will find hope together. She took his hand gently. You are not alone anymore. None of us are. Watch this exchange from her spot by the window. The honey badger did not understand human words, but she understood bonds. She understood loyalty. She understood that the female human with the kind voice was part of their pack now. She made a small sound of approval and went back to watching the stars. 6 months passed. The rule remained in effect. Humans began walking taller, speaking louder, taking up space they had been for 2 decades. It was not a revolution, not yet, but it was a beginning. And then one night, everything changed again. Alarms screamed through every level of the station. Emergency lights flashed red. A voice announced in every language. Security breach. All residents shelter in place. Syndicate forces have boarded the station. Pirates, the worst kind. Lawless criminals who killed for pleasure and profit. And they were here. The syndicate ship had docked using false papers and fake codes. By the time station security realized what was happening, 50 armed criminals were already inside. They moved fast and brutal, killing guards and taking hostages before anyone could organize a defense. Their target was the Central Data Core, a room deep in the administrative sector that held trade routes, security codes, and financial records worth more than some planets. Their leader was an exile named. He was massive even for his species, with scars covering his scales and dead eyes that had seen too much violence. The syndicate had thrown him out of legitimate society years ago, and he had become something worse than a criminal. He had become a monster. Within an hour, controlled the administrative sector. His soldiers held 40 hostages in a large conference room, including counselor, ambassador, and dozens of other important figures. Among them was, she had been at the administrative building to meet with an immigration official. Now she sat on the cold floor with her hands bound, watching the syndicate soldiers patrol with weapons ready. Broadcast his demands across the entire station. Give me full access to the data core. You have 6 hours. Every hour you delay, I kill one hostage. Starting with the humans, they are worthless anyway. In the lower districts, heard the broadcast. His blood went cold when he heard the threat against humans. Was up there, was in danger. Grandmother grabbed his arm as he moved toward the door. Boy, no, this is not your fight. Station security will handle this. Station security is pinned down. I heard the emergency channels. They cannot get close without risking the hostages. Then what can you do? You are one person. Looked at her with eyes that held no fear, only determination. I am not asking anyone to follow me. He picked up his carrier and walked out the door. But as he moved through the lower districts, he realized he was not alone. Humans were emerging from their homes, from their shops, from their hiding places. Old and young, men and women, they fell into step behind him without a word. The old cleaner walked at his shoulder. Where are we going? To save our people. We are not soldiers. No, we are something else. We are the ones who survived. By the time reached the maintenance tunnels, 23 humans walked behind him. They carried tools instead of weapons, heavy wrenches, plasma cutters, metal pipes. They were mechanics and cooks and cleaners and dock workers. None of them had ever fought before. All of them were done being invisible. The maintenance tunnels ran throughout the station like veins in a body. Knew them well from months of repair work. He led his small army through the darkness, climbing, crawling, moving toward the administrative sector from below. They split into 3 groups at his direction. 2 groups would create distractions, drawing syndicate soldiers away from the hostages. The 3rd group and 5 others would reach the conference room. No heroes, told them before they separated. Do what you can, then get out, survive. Smiled grimly. You are the one carrying a honey badger into a fight. You should follow your own advice. The assault began with chaos. On the maintenance level, this group triggered a massive power surge that shut down lights across the entire sector. Emergency backups kicked in, but by then, Syndicate soldiers were running toward the source of the problem, leaving fewer guards at their posts. On another level, a group of human workers opened steam vents and flooded a corridor with superheated mist. 3 Syndicate soldiers went down screaming, their weapons useless in the chaos. This group moved through the ventilation system above the conference room. Through the metal grating, he could see the hostages below. He could see her face pale but her eyes determined. She was not crying. She was watching, waiting for a chance. 2 guards stood at the door. They were big and armed with plasma rifles. Looked at the others in his group. They were terrified, their hands shaking, their breathing fast, but they did not run. "Stay here," he whispered. "I will handle the guards." "How?" one of them asked. "Opens carrier." The honey badger had been silent for the entire journey. She understood in whatever way her mind worked that something important was happening. Now she emerged slowly, her black eyes fixed on the guards below. Dropped through the vent opening. He landed hard, the impact sending pain through his legs. The guards spun toward him, raising their weapons. "Human," one snarled, "you are supposed to be in the lower." Hit him in the face before he could finish the sentence. The honey badger was a blur of gray fur and violence. She bit, she clawed, she twisted in ways that should not be possible. The first guard dropped his weapon to grab at the creature, tearing at his eyes. The second guard raised his rifle toward. Was faster. She launched from the first guard's face to the second's weapon arm, biting down on his wrist. The rifle discharged harmlessly into the ceiling. Inside the conference room, chaos erupted. Hostages screamed. Syndicate soldiers ran toward the door, but people were already dropping from the vents, wielding their makeshift weapons. "Get the humans out," shouted, "now." What followed was not a battle. It was desperation made physical. Humans who had never fought before swung tools at armed soldiers. They took hits, bled, fell, but they did not stop. For every human who went down, another took their place. Broke free of her bonds during the chaos. She grabbed a fallen weapon. She did not know how to use it, but she held it like she did. When a Syndicate soldier came too close, she pressed the trigger. The shot went wild, but the soldier stumbled back in surprise. A young girl pointing a weapon at him, not running, not crying, just standing her ground. Something had changed on the station. Within minutes, the hostages were free. Counselor, despite her injuries, helped organize the evacuation. Ambassador carried an injured colleague on his back. They poured into the maintenance tunnels, following the humans who had come to save them. But was still out there. Station security had finally broken through the Syndicate perimeter. Soldiers in armor flooded the administrative sector, engaging the remaining criminals. Realizing his plan had failed, tried to escape through a maintenance corridor. Found him there. The Syndicate leader was running when he turned a corner and saw a young human standing in his way. The boy was injured, blood on his face, burns on his arms, exhaustion in his stance. In his arms, he held a small gray creature that watched with black, emotionless eyes. Laughed. "One human boy and a pet. You think this stops me?" He drew his weapon, a heavy plasma pistol that could burn through steel. "Move or I kill you both." Did not move. Fired. Was already in motion. She leaped from his arms as the shot passed through the space where her body had been. The plasma bolt hit his shoulder instead, a glancing blow, but enough to spin him around with a cry of pain. Then reached. The Syndicate leader was fast for his size. He caught the honey badger with one massive hand, squeezing hard enough to break bones in any normal creature. Twisted. That impossible honey badger twist, skin sliding over muscle, body turning inside its own flesh. Her teeth found his forearm. Her claws found his face. And when he tried to throw her off, she simply held on and bit deeper. Screamed. He fired his weapon wildly, shots burning the walls, the ceiling, everywhere except the creature attached to his arm. He slammed her against the wall, once, twice, 3 times. Kept biting. His free hand finally found her neck. He began to squeeze, cutting off her air. The honey badger's movement slowed. Her jaws loosened slightly. But she did not let go. Despite his wound, grabbed a piece of broken pipe from the floor. He swung it with all his remaining strength into his knee. The roared and stumbled. His grip on loosened. The honey badger surged up his arm to his throat. What happened next ended the fight forever. His teeth found soft flesh. Blood sprayed across the corridor, collapsed unconscious before he hit the ground. Security forces arrived moments later to find on his knees, cradling a bleeding honey badger in his arms. The boy was crying, the first tears he had shown since landing on the station 6 months ago. "Good girl," he whispered. "Please stay with me, please." Looked up at him with dimming eyes. She made a small sound, not a growl, something softer. Then her eyes closed. 2 weeks later stood in the High Council chamber once more. His arm was in a sling. His face was still bruised. Beside him stood, holding his good hand. On his shoulder, in her familiar carrier, rode. The honey badger was thin from her recovery, but her black eyes were bright and alert. The station's best veterinarians had worked for days to save her. They had not understood why they were fighting so hard for a 12-kilogram Earth creature. Then they had watched the footage from the maintenance corridor. Now they understood. Counselor addressed the chamber. By unanimous vote, the High Council has decided to upgrade humanity's status from junior species to partner species. This grants humans full rights, representation, and protection under galactic law. The chamber was silent. No one objected, not even Commander, whose species had lost soldiers in the Syndicate attack, soldiers who were saved by human workers using tools as weapons. Ambassador stepped forward to accept the formal documents. His eyes were wet. "On behalf of humanity," he said, "we accept this partnership, and we hope that the galaxy will learn what we have always known, that the smallest creatures can have the largest hearts, that the weakest-looking species can hold the strongest spirits." He looked at and that you should never, ever underestimate a human with something to protect. The ceremony ended. Counselor approached privately. "The rule," she said. "Directive 7742, do you want us to remove it?" Thought about this. The rule that had made aliens afraid to touch him. The rule that had started as fear and become respect. "Keep it," he said. "It reminds everyone of something important." "And what is that?" Looked down at. The honey badger yawned, showing her small, sharp teeth. "That even the smallest things deserve respect, and that if you threaten what they love." He did not need to finish. Understood. On their way back to the lower districts, humans greeted in the corridors. Aliens nodded respectfully, and yes, still kept their distance. Walked beside him, her hand in his. "What now?" she asked. "Now we build something, a community, a home," he smiled slightly. "Something worth protecting." Made a soft sound from her carrier. She had heard that word, protect. She understood it better than any word in any language. She was a honey badger. She did not understand politics or peace treaties or galactic law. But she understood family. She understood loyalty. She understood love. And she understood, in whatever way her small, fierce brain worked, that she would protect her boy until her last breath. The stars shone through the station's windows as they walked home. Somewhere in the galaxy, species were already telling stories about the incident on Prime, about a human boy and a 12-kilogram Earth creature that changed everything. The stories grew with each telling. They spread to 100 worlds, then 1,000, They became legend. And at the heart of every story was a simple truth. Never confront the boy, never threaten what he loves, or you will face the beast they call the honey badger. And the honey badger does not stop. The honey badger does not fear. The honey badger does not lose. Ever.